Late 2024 and early 2025 saw a massive unwinding of corporate sustainability and climate equity programs. Major financial institutions exited net zero alliances. The SEC issued millions in greenwashing fines. Domestically, the Department of Government Efficiency cut the EPA's environmental justice budget by 90%, while the United States formally withdrew from the Paris Agreement and international loss and damage funds. These events created a specific impression in the headlines that the climate justice project had reached a terminal failure and the entire infrastructure was being torn down. The public-facing rhetoric of climate justice provided the moral and political authority to build the underlying system. It functioned as a temporary scaffolding, a moral wrapper for a much larger project. This highly publicized dismantling of the policy layer successfully focused public attention on the political theater.
Meanwhile, the permanent system quietly preserved underneath continued its work without interruption. Between 2009 and 2017, taxpayers funded a $39 billion planetary sensing grid. This physical infrastructure, fleets of orbital satellites and global radar networks, is the real ledger. While the 2025 budget cuts zeroed out community adaptation grants, they simultaneously increased funding for the GOES-R and JPSS satellite series by nearly 10%. The measurement grid survived the political purge entirely. This $39 billion public investment is now dwarfed by the industry it supports. A $2 trillion private climate risk market now operates using this intact grid, feeding data to hedge funds and sovereign rating desks. The physical core of the sensing system outlived the moral narrative used to build it. A planetary surveillance grid, funded by the public for the purpose of equity, has effectively transitioned into a private asset. In 2009, the federal government began laying the groundwork for an unprecedented expansion into climate science. Officials justified the immense cost of these satellites by promising to protect the most vulnerable. Agency leaders held forums at the EPA, framing this new sensing infrastructure as a tool to shield marginalized communities from environmental burdens. In 2013, the Office of Science and Technology Policy issued a quiet but pivotal mandate. It required that all federally funded research and its underlying datasets be made machine-readable and open to the public. By 2015, NOAA moved petabytes of data onto commercial cloud platforms. Amazon, Google, and Microsoft gained direct access to centuries of climate observations. These agreements granted unlimited commercial reuse with zero licensing fees, requiring no royalties or commitments to share extracted value. The administration's policies allowed for a massive acquisition of public Earth data by big tech, all while using the initial promise of environmental justice as the project's primary justification. In early 2025, the incoming administration used the Department of Government Efficiency to systematically dismantle the multilateral equity funds established over the previous decade. This created a massive asymmetry. While the public mechanisms for reparative aid vanished, the AWS data pipeline remained wide open, allowing the private sector to fill the void. AI companies like Palantir and xAI integrated this free public data into their own platforms. They used it to build proprietary global risk models for banking, insurance, and investment markets. Here is how that looks in practice. Insurance companies use free satellite data to power parametric triggers. When a government sensor detects a specific weather event, algorithms can automatically trigger a premium hike or a coverage denial for the same taxpayers who funded the satellite. Removing the equity requirements in 2025 left the climate apparatus operational, but stripped of public oversight. Wall Street inherited the keys to the planetary engine. This new paradigm is the climate meritocracy. Planetary adaptation has become a private financial product, with access to protection determined by algorithmic risk scoring. The public investment in this sensing infrastructure generated a 50-to-1 return. However, because of the open data structure, those profits were captured entirely by private capital, rather than the taxpayers who bore the initial risk. Right now, models using this public data are deciding the interest rates on municipal bonds, the affordability of your groceries, whether you qualify for a mortgage. By the time children born today reach adulthood, their entire socioeconomic reality will be strictly dictated by these private risk scores. They will live inside a converged ledger fueled by a public system they never consented to. The satellites are still in orbit, and the data pipeline is still flowing. The system is currently cementing itself into the bedrock of global finance and law. We must demand a new legal covenant, the just machine. This would force private entities profiting from public data to pay into adaptation funds. Without it, we are permanently locked into a high-tech extraction engine.